Into sport, we'll talk all A-League Grand Final wash-up, all the action last night. What have you got for us, Andre?
We've got so much coverage now, Joe. You basically will feel like you've watched the game. We're talking Melbourne victory versus Newcastle Jets. A 1-0 win to victory last night, their fourth championship. And reporter Andrew Griffits was at the game last night in Newcastle. He joins us now. Andrew, it was a heated final, especially at the end with the red card and the early controversial goal. How were the reactions from players and coaches after the game?
Well, the Newcastle Jets fans, the players and the coaches were not happy. Newcastle captain Nigel Boogaard was pretty diplomatic afterwards, though. He said victory were deserved winners. Jets coach Ernie Merrick, not so much. He said he was disappointed with the way the first goal, or the only goal, unfolded. He felt that several victory players were offside when the ball was delivered by Leroy George and then subsequently fell to Costa Barbarouses for victory's solitary goal. He's questioned the efficiency of the video assistant referee, wondering what was the point of it last night if it wasn't there to pick up what he felt was such a glaring error.
What about today in Newcastle? What's the mood like? Obviously, this was a fairy tale story we all pretty much wanted true, aside from victory players, but it hasn't panned out that way. What's the mood there in Newcastle like?
Well, there's plenty of people doing their morning exercise along the main drag here in Newcastle, but nobody's out celebrating. The scene would have been very different if the Jets had have got up, but they are disappointed and the fans are a bit angry. The fans I spoke to last night and the few who I've been able to talk to this morning are also disappointed with the way that the officiating went throughout the match. They feel that the goal probably shouldn't have been allowed. Now, whether that's just the fog of loss is one thing, but they are disappointed. It's been such a big week here in Newcastle. The fans were excited for the entire 7 days leading up to the match. The hype around the town was phenomenal and it has all come crashing down from last night's victory. But the Jets fans can take some solace in the fact that they have done particularly well this year. They were grand finalists. This time last year, they won the wooden spoon. So the transformation that Ernie Merrick has managed to get out of this team is phenomenal, and they deserve to be praised for that. So I think in the long term, the fans will still be happy with how their team has gone this season once the disappointment of last night's loss wears off.
Andrew Griffiths in Newcastle, thanks for your time. And to rake over the coals and go through the match, we've got former Socceroos captain Paul Wade with us. Paul, thanks very much for joining us in the studio this morning.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure to see you. Especially you, Andrew.
As always.
Makes you feel special.
Paul, what did
you very bright after the celebrations
Thank you so much. Got home at 1 o'clock, but it was worth it.
Yeah, what did you make of the game?
I thought in the first half, these two teams are worthy of grand final football. It was so fluent. They were passing the ball. Nothing ever stopped. Second half, because I guess the pressure of expectation, balls weren't sticking. There was balls bobbling off knees. You know, you could feel the pressure of both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're really interested in this morning, or what a lot of fans and A-League followers are interested in, is about this goal. We heard some controversy there from Andrew. He talked about the mood there in Newcastle. Can you talk us through it here? Was it offside? Was it not offside?
It was. As the free kick is taken, there are 3 white shirts standing closer to the goal than any blue. Therefore, all 3 of them are offside. And when you've got a VAR video assistant referee who has, a good 30 seconds to make a decision, to have a look at it over and over again, and you still get it wrong. There's no one. Have a look at that. See the white shirts?
How did they get that wrong when it's so obvious?
Exactly, Andrew. How did they get it wrong? They've had 30 seconds to work that one out. They could go over and over and over again. I don't know. Maybe they wanted a sponsor on there and they wanted to keep it going. I don't know.
So do you think Newcastle fans are rightly aggrieved by this? That it turned the game, essentially, because obviously it resulted in a goal?
Yeah. You did, right. No, honestly, if you lose and something like that happens, you're going to blame the VAR, the referee, Melbourne victory. You know, Ernie was saying that the game it became ugly because Melbourne Victory just kicked the ball out. Well, if you're hanging on for dear life to win the league or win the grand final, you do anything you'd like to kick the ball out.
Let's talk about some positives out of the game. I mean, Lawrence Thomas, for me, is an absolute standout in this Melbourne Victory side. He got badly injured in the end. Let's have a look at that injury, if we can. What do you think of this? I mean, this seems like highly reckless. As I said, he has his eye on the ball there, Roy O'Donovan, but...
Well, you assume that.
Well, I can see him watching the ball. I can see him watching the ball, but I also know he's got his feet up higher than his own head.
Yeah. Look, Roy wouldn't have meant that. Obviously, you couldn't, as a professional footballer, go and do that. I can see what he was trying to do. Maybe if the keeper hadn't come out, a nice little flick over the top. But as soon as the keeper comes out, you're looking for a head-on. Still dangerous. I don't know how many weeks he'll get for that, but...
What do you think the penalty should be?
I'm thinking 4. To tell you the truth, really, when you think about how much time he had to think about the keeper coming out,
it was a split-second decision, wasn't it? Was it worth the risk as far as he was concerned?
Well, you take any risk. You're 1-0 down and you just want to score a goal. And that's why he's a predator. That's his job. He scores them from 2 yards or 25. That's his job, to score a goal. And that was the instincts took over.
Now, the boot stopped there on Lawrence Thomas's face, but earlier the ball was stopping from him. He was brilliant, really. Newcastle didn't have that many shots, but what they did manage to get through, he showed once again that he's up to the task. Could he, I'm going to throw this one at you, could he go to the World Cup still?
You know what? If I was the coach, I would say, yeah, that's seriously. He was under a lot of pressure there. He's made some brilliant saves, not just in this game, but in all the games. How he got down to a couple of these. You know, there's a double save that he makes. He stops one with the first hand, but then he gets up and he dives on the second shot. You think, wow, he is having a great day. In fact, all our goalkeepers are doing well. All of them. That was the moment there. 2 shots. The guy on his knees. He's just tried to put that in the back of the net. It was going, and Lawrence Thomas gets down to make a save.
For Victory, this is the 4th championship, huge achievement. Who are their potential main rivals?
Sydney FC, always Sydney FC, isn't it? You know, they're going to brag about this for a long time. When I was walking back to my car, there were just pockets of fans just singing over and over again. You know, the police were there, but I'm sure they were loving it. All these fans singing, you know what I mean? It's a great culture that football has.
I don't know that Sydney FC would be fans of the final system, but do you think it works? Because it is fairly unusual, isn't it, in world football?
Yeah, it is. In fact, we might be the only country in the world that embrace it. And I do. We all know there is...
Well, because Aussies love a final.
Yeah, we love a final, absolutely. Yeah. But when you look at all the stats and you look at where Sydney FC finished to Melbourne Victory and Newcastle to Melbourne Victory, number of goals scored, amount of possession they had in this particular game, you go, this sucks. You know, from a loser's point of view. Yep. But for the rest of us, the neutrals, we go, wow, we love that.
So is it mostly for the crowd then?
Absolutely, yeah, you're dead right.
And look, for the neutrals, a lot of us wanted Newcastle Jets to win this game.
Yep.
If you could give us some perspective on how the Jets have gone this last season with the wooden spoon, and then this season, how much of it is due to Ernie Merrick, how much of it is due to a squad that's just fired on all cylinders?
Laurie McKenna, who's the boss of Newcastle Jets, went out and tried to find a coach that wanted to play good football, and Ernie Merrick was that man. When I met him at a training session before the season started, he said, I cannot believe the lack of football they're playing in their first training session. There is no first touch, second touch, playing the ball around. They just whack it. So he goes, we're going to change that culture, and from that he's allowed trust. I heard a survey had been done, was it by Google, and they said the most successful teams in business and in sport have trust. And I think everybody trusted Ernie Merrick and just fed off it.
And even though they lost, it was still such an achievement for them to perform in a grand final in front of a home crowd.
Yeah, sometimes that can be so much different and works against you. Because the great thing about Melbourne Victory is they're hated by everyone. Every time they go away, they're hated. They love being hated. Do you know what I mean? Their coach, their captain, their goal scorer. Yeah, so they feed off shutting up 26,000 people. But yeah, you're right, Newcastle, to get that close, you just got to take you out from... Wow, I'm looking forward to next season watching them.
Yes.
All right, Paul, well, thanks very much for that very comprehensive summary of the game. We thank you very much for coming in.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Andre.